In the beginning, before time had a name and before the land knew the touch of the sun, there was only darkness and endless water. The ancient Egyptians called this infinite, silent ocean none. It was a vast, formless void, neither alive nor dead, stretching endlessly in all directions. No sky hovered above, no earth lay below, and no sound disturbed its stillness. None was not chaos, but potential, the quiet promise of everything that would one day exist. From this eternal water, a subtle movement began. Slowly, deliberately, a mound of earth rose from the depths. This first land was known as the Benben, the sacred hill of creation. It stood alone, surrounded by the endless waters, glistening under a light that had not yet fully formed. Upon this mound emerged the first god, Adam, the self-created one. He had no parents, no beginning, and no guide. Adam came into existence through sheer will, embodying completeness and divine order. Adam stood upon the Benben and gazed into the endless waters, aware that creation could not remain solitary. Through an act both mysterious and sacred, he brought forth two children, Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture. Their birth marked the first division of the universe. With them came movement, balance, and the first breath of life. Shu and Tefnut wandered away into the darkness of none, and for a time, Adam feared they were lost forever. When they finally returned, guided by Adam's divine eye, their reunion brought tears to the Creator God. Where those tears fell upon the earth, humanity was born. In this way, humans were not shaped from clay or summoned by command, but born from divine emotion, sorrow, relief, and love. From Shu and Tefnut came the next generation of gods. Their children were Geb, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky. Geb and Nut were deeply entwined, locked in an eternal embrace. Nut arched over Geb, her body filled with stars, while Geb lay beneath her, fertile and green. Their closeness, however, left no space for life to grow between them. Adam, seeing this imbalance, commanded Shu to separate them. With great effort, Shu lifted Nut high above Geb, forming the sky, while Geb remained below as the earth. This separation created space for air, light, and life itself. Even after being divided, Geb and Nut longed for one another, and their love was said to cause earthquakes and the gentle rise of plants from the soil. Nut, now ruling the heavens, became the guardian of the stars and the cycle of time. Each evening, she swallowed the sun, and each morning, she gave birth to it again. This eternal rhythm explained the passage of days and nights, life and death, endings and rebirths. To the ancient Egyptians, the sky was not empty, it was alive, watching, protecting, and remembering. From the union of Geb and Nut came 4 children who would shape the destiny of gods and humans alike. Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys were born into a world already rich with divine order and hidden conflict. Osiris, the eldest, embodied harmony, growth, and renewal. He would become the first king of Egypt, ruling not through fear, but through wisdom and balance. Isis, his sister and future wife, was gifted with unmatched intelligence and magical power. She understood the secret names of the gods and knew how to bend reality through words and intention. Set, fierce and unpredictable, ruled over deserts, storms, and chaos. Nephthys, quiet and watchful, stood at the boundaries, between life and death, protection and loss. As Osiris took the throne, Egypt flourished. The land became fertile, crops grew abundantly, and humans learned laws, agriculture, and ritual. Osiris taught them how to live in harmony with Ma'at, the sacred principle of truth, balance, and cosmic order. Under his rule, the world felt stable, predictable, and safe, yet, beneath this peace, jealousy stirred. Set looked upon his brother's success with resentment. Where Osiris brought life, Set ruled barren lands. Where Osiris was loved, Set was feared. This imbalance ignited a conflict that would echo through eternity, reshaping the fate of the gods and introducing death into the world. As the stars watched silently and the Nile flowed steadily, the stage was set for betrayal, sacrifice, and resurrection. The age of innocence was drawing to a close, and the myths of Egypt were about to take a darker, deeper turn, one that would explain not only death, but the hope that lies beyond it. And so, as the ancient world drifted beneath the starlit sky of Nut, the story continued, carried by the whispers of temples, the flow of the Nile, and the quiet promise that nothing truly ends, it only transforms. As the Nile continued its timeless journey through the heart of Egypt, peace still reigned across the land. Osiris ruled as king, and under his guidance, the people lived in harmony with the rhythms of nature. The fields grew green with each flood, temples rose toward the sky, and rituals honored the delicate balance between gods, earth, and humanity. Life followed a steady, comforting cycle, echoing the order of the cosmos itself, yet in the shadowed deserts beyond the fertile banks, Set watched and waited. His domain was harsh and unforgiving, shaped by storms and shifting sands. To Set, Osiris's prosperity was not a symbol of balance, but of injustice. He believed strength, not harmony, should rule the world. As resentment deepened within him, Set's thoughts turned darker, giving shape to a plan that would forever alter creation. Set devised a deception as elegant as it was cruel. He commissioned a magnificent chest, crafted from precious wood and adorned with gold and lapis lazuli. The chest was measured precisely to Osiris's body, though none but Set knew this secret. When the chest was complete, Set announced a grand feast, inviting Osiris and the other gods to celebrate together. As music drifted through the hall and laughter filled the air, Set presented the chest as a gift. He declared that whoever fit inside it perfectly could claim it as their own. One by one, the gods tried, but none matched its form. Finally, Osiris stepped forward. Trusting his brother, he lay inside the chest. In that moment, Set and his followers sealed the lid shut, trapping Osiris within. The celebration turned to silence. The chest was carried swiftly to the Nile and cast into its dark, flowing waters. As it disappeared beneath the surface, Osiris's reign came to an abrupt and tragic end. For the first time, death entered the world, not as a natural cycle, but as an act of betrayal. The Nile carried the chest far from Egypt, drifting gently as if guided by fate. It eventually came to rest near the coast of Byblos, where a great tree grew around it, enclosing Osiris's body within its trunk. The tree flourished, becoming a symbol of hidden life, while Osiris remained suspended between existence and oblivion. Back in Egypt, Isis sensed the disturbance in the balance of Ma'at. Her heart knew that Osiris was lost, and she began a long and sorrowful search. Disguised as a humble woman, Isis traveled across deserts and seas, guided by intuition and magic. Her journey was not hurried, it was patient, enduring, and filled with quiet resolve. When Isis finally reached Byblos, she discovered the tree that held Osiris within. Through wisdom and grace, she gained access to it and retrieved the chest. Holding her husband once more, Isis returned to Egypt under the cover of night, hoping to restore what had been broken. But Set's rage had not faded. Discovering that Osiris had been found, Set seized the body and, in an act of violent fury, cut it into 14 pieces. He scattered the fragments across the land, ensuring that Osiris could never rule again. The act was meant to be final, an erasure of memory, power, and hope. Isis, joined by her sister Nephthys, refused to surrender to despair. Together, they searched the length of Egypt, guided by morning chants and divine signs. Wherever a piece of Osiris was found, they performed sacred rituals, giving rise to the first funerary practices. In this way, death was no longer empty, it became sacred, marked by remembrance and care. Piece by piece, Osiris was restored. Through magic older than the stars and words known only to the gods, Isis reassembled his body. Though Osiris could not return to life as he once was, he was transformed. His resurrection was not a return to the throne of the living, but an ascension to a new realm. Osiris became ruler of the Duat, the underworld. There, he presided over the souls of the dead, judging them with fairness and compassion. His green skin symbolized rebirth, vegetation, and the promise that life continues beyond death. Through Osiris, the Egyptians understood that death was not an ending, but a doorway. From this sacred union, Isis conceived a child, Horus. Fearing Set's wrath, she hid in the marshes of the Nile Delta, protected by reeds, magic, and the watchful eyes of the gods. There, Horus was born, fragile yet destined for greatness. As Horus grew, Isis taught him in secret. He learned of his father's murder, his uncle's treachery, and his rightful claim to the throne. The child of magic and sacrifice, Horus embodied hope, renewal, and justice. Each step of his growth marked the slow return of balance to the world above them. Nut continued her eternal watch, swallowing the sun by night and giving birth to it by day. Below, the Nile flowed on, carrying memory, grief, and promise alike. The world had changed, but it endured, shaped now by loss, love, and the belief that even in darkness, light would rise again. And so, as Egypt slept beneath the stars, the story moved forward. The son of Osiris prepared for his destiny, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos drew closer. What began with betrayal would soon become a battle for the soul of creation itself. Hidden among the whispering reeds of the Nile Delta, the child Horus grew in silence. The marshes became his sanctuary, their still waters reflecting the sky above while papyrus stalks swayed gently in the breeze. Isis remained ever watchful, protecting her son through powerful spells and ancient knowledge passed down from the dawn of creation. Though danger lingered beyond the marshlands, this hidden world allowed Horus to grow strong, unseen by Set's searching eyes. From an early age, Horus was aware of his destiny. Isis spoke softly to him of Osiris, the just king who ruled with wisdom and compassion. She told him of betrayal, loss, and transformation, stories not meant to fuel hatred, but to awaken responsibility. Horus learned that true kingship was not seized through force alone, but earned through balance, courage, and respect for Ma'at, the sacred order of the universe. Set, meanwhile, ruled Egypt with a restless grip. His reign was marked by disorder, violent storms, and unpredictable floods. The land reflected its ruler, harsh, unstable, and divided. Though feared, Set was never truly accepted as king. Whispers spread among gods and humans alike, speaking of the rightful heir hidden beyond reach. As Horus matured, his strength became impossible to conceal. He trained under divine guardians, learning combat, strategy, and sacred law. His eyes were said to mirror the sky itself, one reflecting the blazing sun, the other the calm glow of the moon. These eyes symbolized his role as mediator between worlds, uniting light and darkness, life and death. Eventually, Horus stepped beyond the marshes and revealed himself to the gods. His claim to the throne could no longer be ignored. The divine council, led by Adam and Ra, gathered to judge the rightful ruler of Egypt. Yet Set refused to surrender his power. What followed was not a single battle, but a prolonged struggle, a series of contests that would last years, testing both strength and spirit. The conflicts between Horus and Set took many forms. They transformed into animals, battling as hippos in the Nile and falcons in the sky. The earth trembled beneath their clashes, and the waters churned violently. These battles were not merely physical, they represented the eternal tension between order and chaos, stability and disruption. In one fierce encounter, Set tore out Horus's left eye, plunging the world into imbalance. The loss symbolized injury to the cosmic order itself, as the moon dimmed and cycles faltered. Yet Horus did not retreat. Through healing magic bestowed by Thoth, god of wisdom and writing, the eye was restored. This healed eye became known as the Eye of Horus, a symbol of protection, wholeness, and restoration. Set too suffered loss. In a later contest, Horus wounded Set, stripping him of his unchecked authority. The battles revealed that neither could claim victory through destruction alone. Each confrontation forced the gods to confront the consequences of unchecked power and the necessity of balance. As the conflict dragged on, the gods grew divided. Some favored Horus, seeing in him the promise of renewal and rightful succession. Others feared Set's raw strength and unpredictability. Ra himself hesitated, torn between tradition and fear of instability. Egypt, both divine and mortal, existed in a state of tension, waiting for resolution. Isis, ever wise, intervened not through force but strategy. She exposed Set's lies and revealed his crimes before the council. Her words carried the weight of truth, and truth could not be ignored. Slowly, the judgment turned in Horus's favor. The gods recognized that kingship rooted in Ma'at must prevail over rule by fear. At last, Osiris spoke from the Duat. His voice, calm and eternal, reminded the gods of the sacred balance they were sworn to uphold. He warned that denying Horus his rightful place would unravel the order of the universe. His words carried finality, echoing through the realms of the living and the dead. As the sun dipped below the western horizon and the land of Egypt settled into night, the ancient people believed another journey was just beginning. Beyond the world of the living lay the Duat, a vast, mysterious realm through which every soul must pass. It was neither a place of punishment nor paradise alone, but a complex landscape of trials, judgment, and transformation. Each night, the sun god Ra entered the Duat aboard his sacred boat. As darkness enveloped the world, Ra's journey mirrored that of the human soul, reminding all living beings that death was not an end, but a passage. The Duat existed beyond human time, filled with twisting rivers, fiery lakes, gates guarded by divine beings, and fields bathed in eternal twilight. When a person died, their soul did not travel alone. It was composed of many parts: the Ka, the life force; the Ba, the personality; the Ak, the transformed spirit; and the Ren, the sacred name. Preservation of the body through mummification ensured these elements could reunite, allowing the soul to navigate the afterlife successfully. The journey through the Duat was perilous. Souls faced gates guarded by serpents, jackal-headed beings, and fire-breathing guardians. Each gate required secret names and spells to pass. These words were preserved in sacred texts, etched into tomb walls and written on papyrus, ensuring the deceased would not wander lost in the darkness. At the heart of the Duat stood the Hall of Ma'at, where judgment awaited. Here, Osiris presided as Lord of the Dead, seated upon a throne surrounded by lotus flowers and flowing waters. Beside him stood Isis and Nephthys, silent and watchful. Before the throne, the deceased was led forward by Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming and protection. Anubis gently placed the heart of the deceased upon a golden scale. On the opposite side rested the feather of Ma'at, light, pure, and unyielding. This was the moment of truth. The heart, believed to carry the weight of one's actions, thoughts, and intentions, would reveal whether the soul had lived in harmony with cosmic order. As the scale balanced, Thoth, god of wisdom and writing, recorded the outcome. He stood calmly, his ibis head tilted in quiet observation, ensuring the judgment was fair and eternal. No lies could be spoken here. No power could sway the truth. In the Duat, all were equal before Ma'at. If the heart was heavier than the feather, weighed down by greed, cruelty, or deceit, the soul faced annihilation. The fearsome creature Ammit, part lion, part crocodile, part hippopotamus, waited patiently. She devoured impure hearts, ending the soul's journey forever. This fate was not torment, but oblivion, the greatest fear of the ancient Egyptians. But if the heart balanced true, the soul was welcomed into the field of reeds, a perfect reflection of life on earth. Here, fields were always fertile, waters calm, and families reunited. Labor existed, but without suffering. It was an eternal continuation of the best moments of earthly life, free from chaos and pain. Osiris ruled this realm not as a distant judge, but as a guardian of renewal. He represented the promise that death could lead to rebirth, just as crops rose after the Nile's floods. Through Osiris, the Egyptians found comfort in the belief that moral living shaped eternal destiny. Meanwhile, Ra's nightly journey through the Duat faced constant danger. The great serpent Apophis, embodiment of chaos, lurked in the darkness, seeking to devour the sun god and plunge the universe into eternal night. Each night, Ra battled Apophis with the help of Set and other gods, ensuring dawn would come again. These nightly victories reinforced the cosmic balance. Just as Ra overcame chaos, so too could the righteous soul overcome death. The sun's rebirth each morning was proof that order endured, even in darkness. Funerary rituals on earth mirrored this sacred journey. Tombs were filled with amulets, spells, and offerings. The Eye of Horus was placed upon bodies to protect and heal. The deceased's name was spoken aloud, ensuring their ren would never fade. To be remembered was to live forever. As the stars crossed Nut's celestial body, the people of Egypt slept with faith rather than fear. Death was not unknown, it was mapped, ritualized, and understood. Through Ma'at, justice prevailed. Through Osiris, hope endured, and so, the Duat remained not a realm of terror, but of truth. A sacred passage shaped by one's life, guarded by gods, and illuminated by the promise that the journey, though long, would always lead somewhere meaningful. As dawn approached and Ra prepared to rise once more, the world of the living stirred. The eternal cycle continued: life, death, and rebirth, flowing as endlessly as the Nile itself. In ancient Egypt, the gods were not distant beings who lived only in temples or legends. They were present in every sunrise, every shadow, every breath of wind moving across the Nile. The divine was woven into daily life, shaping how people worked, loved, healed, and hoped. To the Egyptians, the world itself was alive with sacred intention. The center of this divine presence stood Ra, the sun god, whose light sustained all existence. Each morning, Ra rose in the eastern sky, signaling renewal and order. His journey across the heavens marked the passage of time, guiding farmers, priests, and kings alike. As the sun warmed the land, it reminded the people that life continued through balance and rhythm. Ra was not only a source of light, but of authority. Pharaohs ruled as his earthly representatives, maintaining Ma'at on his behalf. Temples aligned with the sun honored his power, and daily prayers ensured his protection. At night, when Ra disappeared beyond the horizon, the people trusted in his nightly journey through the Duat, knowing dawn would follow darkness. Where Ra ruled the sky, Anubis watched over the threshold between life and death. His jackal-headed form symbolized vigilance and protection. Jackals often roamed burial grounds, and Anubis was believed to guard the dead from harm. He presided over embalming rituals, ensuring bodies were preserved so souls could journey safely into the afterlife. Priests wore masks of Anubis as they performed mummification, reenacting divine protection through sacred rites. Families prayed to him not with fear, but gratitude. In Anubis, death became guided rather than abandoned, a transition watched over by a steady, compassionate presence. Thoth, the god of wisdom, writing, and measurement, governed knowledge itself. He was believed to have invented language, numbers, and time. As the scribe of the gods, Thoth recorded judgments, maintained cosmic balance, and preserved memory. Without him, Ma'at could not endure. Scribes honored Thoth before writing, believing that accuracy was a sacred act. Education, law, astronomy, and medicine all fell under his domain. Through Thoth, learning became an act of devotion. To understand the world was to honor the divine order behind it. In matters of love, joy, and beauty, the goddess Hathor reigned. She embodied music, fertility, laughter, and comfort. Often depicted as a woman with cow horns cradling the sun, Hathor represented nurturing warmth and emotional harmony. She welcomed souls into the afterlife and soothed grief with gentleness. Festivals dedicated to Hathor were filled with music, dance, and celebration. Mirrors, perfumes, and jewelry were offered in her honor. She reminded the people that pleasure and kindness were not distractions from spirituality, they were expressions of it. In Egyptian homes, protection often came from Batet, the goddess of home, family, and safety. With the head of a cat, Batet embodied both gentleness and fierce defense. Cats were sacred animals, allowed to roam freely through households and temples alike. Batet guarded against illness, misfortune, and evil spirits. Small statues of her were kept in homes, and families prayed to her for harmony and fertility. Through Batet, daily life felt watched over, sheltered by a quiet yet powerful force. Together, these gods formed an invisible network woven into every moment. Farmers thanked Ra for light and rain. Mothers prayed to Batet for their children's safety. Scholars honored Thoth through careful study. Mourners trusted Anubis to guide loved ones beyond the veil. Celebration itself became an act of worship under Hathor's gaze. Temples were not places of weekly gathering, but living centers of divine exchange. Priests performed rituals at dawn, midday, and dusk, feeding statues of the gods and maintaining cosmic balance. Though only priests entered inner sanctuaries, the divine influence extended far beyond temple walls. Even ordinary actions carried spiritual meaning. Washing hands echoed purification rites. Speaking truth upheld Ma'at. Offering food to the dead strengthened ancestral bonds. Life was lived with awareness that the gods were present, not watching with judgment, but participating in the flow of existence. As night fell and stars crossed Nut's sky, the people of Egypt slept knowing their world was held together by unseen hands. The gods did not demand perfection, only balance. Through respect, ritual, and remembrance, humans and gods existed in partnership, and so, Egyptian mythology was not only a story of epic battles and divine rulers. It was a guide for living, a reminder that even the smallest moment could reflect the order of the cosmos. As the Nile continued its eternal journey, carrying both memory and renewal, the gods walked alongside humanity, shaping a civilization that would echo across thousands of years. In ancient Egypt, meaning was never hidden by chance. Every line carved into stone, every shape painted on temple walls, carried intention. Symbols were not decorations, they were vessels of power, designed to hold divine truth and preserve it for eternity. Through symbols, the Egyptians spoke to the gods, shaped reality, and ensured that nothing important was ever forgotten. Among the most recognizable of all sacred symbols was the ankh, the key of life. With its looped top and cross-like form, the ankh represented eternal existence. Gods were often depicted holding it to the lips of pharaohs, symbolizing the breath of life itself. To carry the ankh was to carry the promise that life continues beyond death. The ankh was not limited to the afterlife. It appeared in daily rituals, temple carvings, and amulets worn by the living. It reminded the people that every breath was sacred, and that life on earth was inseparable from the eternal journey of the soul. Equally powerful was the Djed pillar, symbol of stability and endurance. Often associated with Osiris, the Djed represented the backbone of the god, the strength that allowed resurrection and renewal. During festivals, priests ceremonially raised the Djed, reenacting the triumph of order over collapse, life over decay. To the Egyptians, stability was not static. It was something maintained through balance, ritual, and moral action. The Djed reminded them that even after destruction, foundations could be restored, that resilience was divine. The scepter, long and slender with a forked base and animal head, symbolized authority and control over chaos. Gods and kings held the was to show their power to maintain Ma'at. It was not a weapon, but a sign of responsibility, power exercised in service of balance, not domination. Together, the ankh, Djed, and was formed a sacred triad: life, stability, and power. These symbols appeared repeatedly in temples and tombs, reinforcing the principles that sustain the universe itself. Beyond individual symbols lay the grand architecture of sacred meaning. The pyramids, rising from the desert plateau, were not merely tombs. They were cosmic machines, designed to guide the soul of the king toward the stars. Their precise angles aligned with constellations and the path of the sun, transforming stone into a bridge between worlds. The pyramid's shape echoed the Benben Mound, the first land to rise from the waters of Nun. In death, the pharaoh returned to the moment of creation, ascending back toward the divine source. Inside the pyramids, narrow passages channeled the soul upward, while inscriptions ensured safe passage through the afterlife. Hieroglyphs covered these sacred spaces, forming a language unlike any other. Each symbol was both image and sound, meaning and magic. To write a word was to give it existence. To erase a name was to destroy the soul it belonged to. This belief made writing an act of creation itself. Names were especially powerful. The Ren, one's true name, had to be preserved at all costs. Pharaohs carved their names into stone monuments to ensure eternal remembrance. Even common people placed their names in tombs, trusting that as long as their Ren was spoken, they would live on. Color, too, held symbolic power. Green represented rebirth and vegetation, closely tied to Osiris. Blue symbolized the Nile and the heavens, evoking creation and protection. Gold was the flesh of the gods, eternal and unchanging, while black symbolized fertile soil and regeneration, not death. Amulets carried these meanings into daily life. The Eye of Horus protected against harm and restored wholeness. Scarabs symbolized transformation and the rising sun, often placed over the heart to ensure rebirth. These objects were not charms of superstition, but tools aligned with cosmic law. Sacred geometry guided temple construction. Hallways narrowed intentionally to slow movement and quiet the mind. Columns resembled papyrus plants, recalling the marshes of creation. Light entered sanctuaries only at specific times, illuminating statues in moments of divine alignment. Even silence had meaning. Inner sanctuaries were quiet by design, allowing presence rather than speech to dominate. To stand before a god was not to ask endlessly, but to listen, to feel the rhythm of Ma'at pulsing through stone and shadow. Through symbols, the Egyptians shaped a universe that was readable, intentional, and alive. Nothing was accidental. Everything pointed toward balance, memory, and continuity. Their world was a text written in stone, color, and form, a language meant to endure beyond time itself. As night fell and the stars traced familiar paths across Nut's body, these symbols remained, whispering softly to those who knew how to see. Even in sleep, the ancient world spoke, reminding the soul that meaning, once created, never truly fades. In the ancient Egyptian imagination, the universe was not sustained by peace alone. Beneath the calm surface of order flowed unseen dangers, forces that tested balance and threatened to undo creation. These beings were not evil in the modern sense. They were manifestations of chaos, necessary opposites to harmony, reminding both gods and humans that order must be constantly defended. Among the most feared of these forces was Apophis, the great serpent of darkness. Vast beyond measure, Apophis dwelled in the deepest regions of the Duat, waiting each night to strike. His body coiled endlessly through shadow, and his roar was said to shake the foundations of the underworld itself. Apophis did not rule, he consumed. His sole desire was to devour the sun god Ra and plunge the universe into eternal night. Every evening, as Ra entered the underworld aboard his solar boat, the threat returned. The journey was perilous, filled with twisting waterways and shifting landscapes. Apophis attacked relentlessly, wrapping his massive form around the solar bark, attempting to halt its progress. Each night, the gods fought beside Ra, chanting spells, wielding spears of light, and cutting through the serpent's coils. Set, once enemy of Horus, played a vital role in these battles. Though chaotic, his strength was unmatched. Standing at the prow of Ra's boat, Set struck Apophis again and again, ensuring the sun's passage. In this role, chaos was turned against chaos, a reminder that even destructive forces had a place in maintaining cosmic balance. While Apophis embodied cosmic threat, Ammit represented moral consequence. Dwelling near the scales of judgment, Ammit waited silently in the hall of Ma'at. Her form combined the most feared animals of Egypt, lion, crocodile, and hippopotamus. She was not worshipped, nor was she feared without reason. Ammit acted only when Ma'at was violated. If a soul's heart proved heavier than the feather of truth, Ammit consumed it without ceremony. There was no fire, no screaming torment, only erasure. To be devoured by Ammit was to lose all possibility of remembrance, transformation, or rebirth. This fate reinforced the sacred importance of ethical living. Other guardians roamed the Duat, protecting sacred gates and pathways. Serpents with flaming breath, lion-headed beings with shining knives, and towering figures carved from shadow stood watch. These guardians were not cruel, but absolute. They required knowledge, honesty, and preparation to pass. Spells preserved in funerary texts named these beings precisely. Knowing a guardian's name granted safe passage. Ignorance, not malice, was often the greatest danger in the afterlife. The Egyptians believed that preparation through learning and ritual was the key to survival beyond death. Some creatures served not as threats, but protectors. Sacred cobras known as uraeus adorned the crowns of pharaohs and gods. These serpents symbolized divine authority and swift justice. They spat fire at enemies of Ma'at, shielding the rightful order. Lesser demons haunted borderlands, not fully hostile, not fully benevolent. They tested resolve and awareness. These beings reminded the soul that vigilance was necessary even in sacred realms. The universe was alive, reactive, and aware. On Earth, these cosmic beings influenced daily life. Storms, eclipses, and illness were seen as moments when chaos pressed closer. Rituals, prayers, and amulets served as shields, reinforcing divine boundaries. Communities gathered during eclipses to chant against Apophis, helping Ra triumph once more. Children were told stories of monsters not to inspire fear, but respect. Chaos was real, but not unstoppable. Through knowledge, cooperation, and alignment with Ma'at, balance could always be restored. As dawn approached each night, Apophis was defeated, not destroyed, but subdued. The sun rose again, bathing Egypt in golden light. This victory was temporary, yet eternal in repetition. The struggle itself was the rhythm of existence. The Egyptians understood that peace was not the absence of danger, but the triumph over it, renewed each day. Monsters were not simply enemies, they were reminders. Guardians were not obstacles, they were teachers, and so, as the Nile flowed quietly beneath the stars, the people slept knowing that unseen battles were being fought on their behalf. The universe endured not because chaos vanished, but because it was faced, named, and held in balance. With each sunrise, Ma'at was renewed. With each night, the test returned. And within this eternal cycle, the story of Egyptian mythology continued, steady, watchful, and endlessly alive. As the night deepens and the world grows quiet, the story of ancient Egypt does not fade. It lingers, carved into stone, carried by the wind across the desert, reflected in the steady flow of the Nile. Long after the voices of the gods fell silent in their temples, their presence remained, woven into memory, ritual, and belief. The pharaoh stood at the heart of this eternal legacy. More than a king, he was a living bridge between gods and humanity. Each ruler was believed to embody Horus in life and become Osiris in death. Through this sacred transformation, the continuity of Ma'at was preserved across generations. The throne itself was eternal, even as individual lives passed like shadows at sunset. Monuments rose not as symbols of pride, but of remembrance. Temples aligned with the stars, pylons carved with hymns to the gods, and statues gazing toward eternity all served a single purpose: to keep the divine present in the world of the living. Stone was chosen not for beauty alone, but for endurance. What was carved would last, just as the soul was meant to last. The Nile remained Egypt's greatest teacher. Its yearly flooding taught patience, trust, and renewal. When the waters receded, fertile land appeared once more, a living mirror of Osiris's resurrection. In this rhythm, the people saw proof that death was never final, only transformative. Even in times of decline, the myths endured. As empires rose and fell, Egyptian beliefs adapted, absorbing new ideas while preserving their core truths. Greek and Roman thinkers marveled at Egypt's understanding of time, the soul, and cosmic order. Long after temples closed, symbols like the ankh in the eye of Horus continued to speak across cultures. The journey of the soul, carefully mapped through the Duat, offered comfort to generations. Life was a preparation, not a test to be feared. To live truthfully, to honor Ma'at, and to be remembered was enough. Oblivion was the only true death, and remembrance was the highest form of immortality. In quiet moments, families spoke the names of ancestors. Offerings were left. Stories were told. Through memory, the dead walked beside the living. The ancient Egyptians understood something simple yet profound, that to remember is to sustain existence. As centuries passed, sands covered temples and statues fell, but the essence of Egyptian mythology never vanished. It survived in symbols, in stories, and in humanity's enduring questions about life, death, and meaning. The gods did not disappear, they transformed, just as Osiris had taught. Today, when we gaze upon the pyramids or trace hieroglyphs with our eyes, we are not merely observing history. We are listening. These structures still whisper of balance, resilience, and the promise that nothing truly ends. The stars continued across the sky as they once did across Nut's body. The sun still rises, just as Ra promised it would. The Nile still flows, carrying memory and renewal in equal measure, and as sleep approaches, the ancient world offers a final lesson, that life is a cycle, gently repeating. That chaos will come, but order will return. That the soul's journey is long, but never without guidance. So rest now, as the people of Egypt once did, trusting in the rhythm of the universe. Let the stories fade softly into the night, knowing they remain eternal, patient, and alive. The journey continues, even in silence.